The listing price is not the amount you need. Most Americans look at the property price first. But when buying property in Mexico, that is not the number that tells you whether you are ready. The real number is what you need before closing, at closing, and every year after you own it. Because a property can look affordable before the full cost is visible. The dangerous assumption is simple. If I can afford the price, I can afford the purchase. But that is not how a serious buyer should think. If you're an American thinking about buying property in Mexico, the better question is, what is the full cash picture before I move forward? Start before closing. Before you ever reach the closing table, you may already need cash to move forward safely. That can include a deposit, inspection, and legal review. It can also include document checks, travel, and due diligence costs. This is where many buyers make the first money mistake. They treat the final purchase price as the first serious number. But in reality, the decision often starts earlier, with the cash needed before closing. At closing, the purchase price still is not the full number. This is where the transaction has to be funded, not just the property. Closing costs, notary and registration costs, taxes, fees, and bank trust setup may all be part of the cash needed to close. The mistake is thinking the listing price is the finish line. For a serious buyer, the better question is, how much cash do I actually need ready to close? After closing, the budget still does not stop. Once you own the property, the question becomes what it costs every year to keep it. That can include HOA fees, property taxes, insurance, and utilities. It can also include maintenance, repairs, property management, and reserves. Some of these costs may look small by themselves, but together they can change how affordable the property really is. So the better question is not just, can I buy it? It is, can I own it comfortably every year? There is also a Mexico-specific ownership structure question. If you are buying near the coast or in a restricted zone, you may hear about a fideicomiso or bank trust. That does not automatically mean something is wrong, but it can affect the real budget. So before you sign or send money, understand the setup cost, the annual cost, and how that ownership structure fits into your plan. At this point, the mistake is looking at each cost separately. The stronger move is to put everything into one complete budget review. That is where the real decision starts. Once the full budget is visible, the question changes. A property can be inside your price range and still not fit the real budget. Some buyers prepare for the purchase, but not for the full ownership requirement. So the better question is not only, can I buy it? It is, does this property fit the full budget of ownership? And that full ownership budget depends on how you plan to use the property. If you are not living in Mexico full-time, the question is not only, what does the property cost? It is, who handles the property when I am not there? That can mean management, cleaning coordination, repairs, local access, HOA communication, and emergency maintenance. This is why two buyers can look at similar properties and still have very different real ownership costs. The property matters, but your ownership style matters too. So how much more should you expect? The honest answer is, do not use one fixed number. Every property, location, ownership structure, and ownership style can change the real budget. But as a planning frame, many buyers should pressure test the real first-year ownership budget at roughly 8% to 15% plus above the purchase price. Do not treat that as a quote. Treat it as a planning range to verify. Because the real first-year budget may include closing costs, setup costs, reserves, and the first year of ownership costs. The point is not to guess the final number. The point is to stop treating the listing price as the full budget. The final line many buyers forget is the reserve. Do not use every available dollar just to get to closing. Because closing is not the finish line. It is the start of ownership. You may need it for repairs, maintenance, HOA changes, slower rental periods, or unexpected issues. This is not extra padding. It is the buffer that keeps one surprise from turning into financial pressure. So the real question is not, can I afford the listing price? The real question is, Does the full cost of buying and owning this property fit my real budget? Because the listing price tells you what the property is offered for, but the real budget tells you whether the purchase actually fits. Before closing, at closing, during the first year, and every year after ownership begins. And once that full budget is clear, the next step is understanding how Americans actually buy property in Mexico. To see how the buying process works step by step, watch this next. How Americans buy property in Mexico.